Hello and welcome back to What Went Right, and happy Easter, everyone. I know, I completely forgot that my schedule hit straight onto Easter Sunday. Fabulous! So, I thought today was as good a day as ever to delve into the history of Doctor Who's Easter specials. Specifically, these two. Now, I remember these two as not being too great stories, so this is going to be a difficult what went right, because I'm most likely going to focus on what went wrong. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and starting off quite rightly with the very first Easter special that springs to mind, Planet of the Dead. This story introduces us to Lady Christina de Souza, a character who is a jewel thief. Now, this character, I think, is written quite well as a contrast to the Doctor, but also focusing both their similarities. They are two completely different, but they're also the same in the sense that they're more alike than each other seems, which is something the episode does actually focus on, which I think is absolutely beautiful. As a one-off companion, I think she works well, and in my opinion, she's quite funny, quite good, and I'm glad that we don't see her again in that same sense, because if she became a constant companion on for more than one story, I think she'd become too much like Donna, and that's copying something you don't need to copy, because Donna is absolutely perfect as she is. So having a second one just feels a bit off to me, so I'm glad that they didn't bring her back. She does have her own side series on Big Finish. I haven't listened to it, nor do I want to, because I think it might just end up ruining her character. Sorry, Big Finish, I love you guys. Christina meets the Doctor on her getaway as she enters a bus to try and escape the police. The Doctor sits next to her, offers her a bit of an Easter egg, and says, "Hello, I'm the Doctor, happy Easter," which straight away sets up when this is set, Easter of 2009. Now, the Doctor also comments that you can never find Easter because it's always on a different day, which to me personally doesn't make any sense at all. But yeah, I don't understand that part of the whole religion of Christianity, of how Easter could be on a different day every year, but everything else is set to one day. It just kind of seems inconsistent. That my whole thoughts on religion can stay out of this episode of this video, because it's not at all relevant, even though this is an Easter special. So the Doctor is on the bus tracking a wormhole, and the wormhole gets bigger and bigger and bigger until the bus accidentally flies through it, taking them to this planet of the dead, or dead planet. The police officers hunting Christina then see the bus's disappearance and a body coming through the wormhole, which is the bus driver. His entire body is turned into a skeleton and completely dead. They then call upon UNIT, which brings in my opinion, the pride and joy of this story. Malcolm, played by Lee Evans, is the UNIT scientific advisor assigned to this case. Also, the Doctor's superfan before Osgood came along and ruined the title. Lee Evans plays this role absolutely beautifully. There's so much that this one character brings to this story, and in my opinion, is the highlight. I could rewatch this story a million times just because of the character of Malcolm. I love him, I find him hilarious. I know most people find him a little annoying, but he's exactly what any of us would be if we met the Doctor. not if we met a Doctor or an actor played by played the Doctor, the actual Doctor. This man who's done so much, this legendary figure in all of the show, and you get to meet him face to face. This is Malcolm. Malcolm is literally the audience in one character, and I like that he gets mentioned again in Day of the Doctor. I wish that we actually saw him in that story because I fucking love him. Side thing apart of Malcolm being Malcolm, I like how his character does contrast the Doctor a bit, where he tries. We have a gag in the episode where he calls up the Doctor hangs up on him saying that he's busy and not now, and Malcolm just goes, he's a busy man. And then later on in the episode, when the Doctor's back on Earth fighting the stingrays, that's another section, I'll get to that in a minute. We've got Malcolm trying to close the wormhole using his own term of measurement, which I'm about to get to, but he contrasts and does the exact same thing the Doctor did. He said to the Doctor said to him. It's perfect. It's absolutely beautiful. I love that gag. Now, Malcolm, gem, creating a term of measurement from his own name. He invented a term of measurement in his own name. And then, however so many Malcolms equals a Bernard, that entire thing is absolutely hilarious. And the fact that it goes beyond that to a term that he hasn't created yet. And now I'm getting a phone call. So we get two different alien species in this story. We've got these fly-looking bug creatures with this very forgettable name. I cannot remember what they're called. I will probably have a title once I find it. And then these stingray creature things, which again I can't remember the name of, but I'll put them up here. I think they're called Swarm, which is definitely not giving me flash forwards or anything. So, yeah, both of these are in here just for in my opinion, they're here for the sake of the point of the episode, having a villain and another exploring feature. Neither of them need to be here. The fly things are disgusting. The stingrays are completely lackluster. I mean, I get the idea on paper. The stingrays might seem intriguing, flying around the planet, creating wormholes, consuming the planets to survive. That's their life cycle. But it's just executed so poorly. Why do they have to turn the entire planet into a desert? It just seems something so simple, but yeah, it just doesn't work in my opinion. I'm not really a fan, but yeah. Overall, this episode got a 7.4 on IMDb, and so the fans, well, compare it to other episodes, this isn't as bad as some others as the other one we'll get to, but it's also not great. For the time it was on the lower side of the spectrum for episodes. I don't think it got as low as Love on Monsters or Fear Her or 42, but in my opinion 42 was a sign of what would happen, and we'll get to that another time in the despised episodes of Doctor Who, which I'm planning to get to at some point eventually. But yeah, this episode in my opinion was just a flop, but not as much as a flop as Legend of the Sea Devils. To prepare me for this episode, I went back and watched the third Doctor story, which introduced these, happily titled The Sea Devils, and that story was absolutely beautiful. I loved how the Sea Devils are used in there. I went back and watched Warriors of the Deep after that as well, and I loved how the Sea Devils were used in there. So I had pretty high hopes for these monsters coming back. What the fuck did I get? What did we get? That episode was absolutely horrendous, only getting a 4.6 on IMDb, one of the lowest scores that you'll ever see for this show. Where do I start? When I look back at this story, I can't really see or say what went right. In my opinion, there is absolutely nothing memorable about this story. It's not as bad as Orphan 55, but at least I can mention something about that story which I liked. And I can't do that here. The story was all over the place. There was absolutely no consistency. You can tell that a good chunk of this story was cut in post-production to make it shorter. And it was a horrendous decision on the creative team part. It was absolutely horrendous. Like, the story might actually have worked if they didn't cut those things out. But I still don't even know what they probably cut out. But the episode goes from weird cuts every now and then that feels and tells like there should have been something there. This is an episode which, during my binge with my partner on their first time watching Doctor Who, we skipped. We also skipped Sleep No More, and we also skipped 42, and we also skipped a lot of 11 and 12. As in season 11 and 12, not the Doctors, because 11 and 12 were gorgeous. But these things are kind of show this episode has no impact. The only thing I can say that I liked was the fact that in the episode before, they connect straight to this, because at the end of that episode they say, oh, let's see what happened to the treasure of the Fleur de Mar. And then they go finding the lost treasure of the Fleur de Mar. I'm definitely butchering that name, but yeah. I mean, the Sea Devils were used horrendously. Like, they're Sea Devils. Why have them on a fucking ship that flies, that is not a Sea Devil, that is a Sky Devil? This episode pushes Thasmin so much, and in that the visuals are gorgeous. I will say that right now. That underwater visual was absolutely beautiful. But what the fuck happened to that sea monster that eats up the fucking TARDIS? What happened to it? Like, there was so much potential in this story. So much potential. And they fucking ruined it. Like, this story genuinely is horrendous. And you can tell by how low the rating is. And I remember when this story came out, because I was excited for it, because it reintroduced the Sea Devils. And I just remember being so disappointed coming out of it. Like, I had Easter eggs around me, eating them, because it's Easter eggs. Of course you're going to eat Easter eggs. I was so excited going into it. And I was so disappointed coming out. And I hadn't been that disappointed in a Doctor Who episode since Orphan 55. Actually, I tell a lie. The Vanquishers was absolute dog shite of a finale. But The Flux is a completely different story that I'm going to go on about at some point. The characters had no personality to them. everyone in here is forgettable. I mean, Dan, God bless his heart, is the only shining factor, and he's not even used that well. It's it's such a disappointment. Genuine disappointment. I am struggling so hard to say anything I liked about this story. Like, genuinely, apart from the visuals, the story makes no sense. The plot makes no sense. The whole Sea Devil's plan makes sense on paper. Like, their actual plan makes sense, but how they go about executing that plan makes no sense. Like, the entire Hooniverse would have been so much better without bringing back the Sea Devils like this. If you're going to bring back the Sea Devils, do it right. Do it like you did with the silent. You see, that's what I don't get. You brought the same writer that did the same showrunner. Chris Chibnall wrote A Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. A phenomenal two-parter that beautifully reintroduced the Silurians. Absolute beauty. That killed off fucking Rory. Powerful, beautiful, amazing. You brought back such a beloved character, built up a mythology. You started a fucking mythology there, and had the Silurians come back after 1,000 years and welcomed. You built something absolutely amazing, Chibnall. So naturally we expected something similar for the Sea Devils. You fucking flopped it. I will admit, the design for the Sea Devils beautifully respects the classic design instead of just creating something new. I like the design. Like, if you compare the past design to this design, you can see similarities and differences. This is the classic look, modernised, in a perfect, whatever the word is. But apart from those few pointers, Thasmin sucked. Like, Yaz and the Doctor's relationship sucked. Like, it's glossed over for a second, and I've said this before, I don't like Thasmin. There was absolutely no build-up from the previous seasons hinting towards Thasmin. The characters are completely lackluster. How they defeated the Sea Devils in a fucking lightsaber battle. You literally just took that from the Flash season 7 and threw that into here. Both of which did it terribly. Like, genuinely, this is a difficult what went right section because it is absolute horseshit. In conclusion, Doctor Who and Easter don't go hand in hand. You want to know why we don't have Easter specials on Doctor Who? Here's your answer. These two stories are not the best. Planet of the Dead is okay at best. There's way too many points that let it down for it to be considered good. And Legend of the Sea Devils, as I've just ranted about, is a complete horseshit of a story that really should never have aired in the state that it was left in. It feels like it was abandoned halfway through production and the team just stopped caring, probably because they were all on their way out the door anyway. This entire Doctor Who at Easter thing, no thank you, we don't want any more. Russell, if you want to bring back Doctor Who at Easter, look back at the last story you wrote for Easter and say no thank you, I don't want to redo that. Knowing Disney though, they might think, oh, it's a good idea. And let's just not talk about Disneyification of Doctor Who at the minute because it's starting to get on me tits a bit. But anyway, that's all from me for this what went right and what possibly could have gone right at all, because it is absolute dogshit episode of what went right. And yeah, we'll see you next week for another video. Bye bye.